Hi, I'm Pedro Gonzalez, and in my immigrant jam, I would put fig jam made from my grandma's tree.
Wow, we are back with another episode. This week is so exciting. I'm your host, Lucie Pohl. This is Immigrant Jam, the podcast where we jam with immigrants, celebrating all things immigrant, talking to the coolest, funniest, most amazing immigrants in town. Yes, we are here. We are back. Today's guest is an old friend, someone I've known for quite a little while now. I don't know why I'm doing an Irish accent because he's Colombian, from the country of Colombia. Ever heard of it? He's an amazing comedian. He's a writer. He's a podcaster with a Spanish language podcast that you can listen to, okay, if you speak Spanish. He's the great Pedro Gonzalez. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay, first, real quick, what's your podcast called?
It's called La Comedy Mafia.
Okay. If you didn't understand what that means, it means the comedy mafia, obviously. Pedro, you said you would put fig jam in your immigrant jam. Figs in your immigrant jam.
Fig jam, yeah.
That's so funny because I would never think of figs as a Colombian fruit. How ignorant of me.
I mean, all I know, no, there's a fig with caramel. It's a very Colombian thing. And my grandma just had one. And
a fig tree? Is it the green figs or the black figs?
The green ones.
The big ones.
Yeah, you want to hear something, an interesting fact about figs?
Yeah.
If you cut the head of the fig, there's like a little milky, sticky substance that you can apply on skin tags and they fall off.
On skin tags?
Yes.
What are skin tags?
Skin tags is like the little things that grow weirdly.
Oh. Like warts?
Like, I guess it's a wart, yes.
Oh, wow. That's
So
a
one
nice
time
way
I
to say it.
had one like this, and my grandma gave it to me. And I applied it for like 3 days, and it healed me. It cured me. The thing fell off. It dried and fell off.
The wart fell off?
And then she told me to do it with my grandpa. She was like,
I thought your nipple.
No, she was like, you should do it with your grandpa. And then I saw him take off his whatever old man wife beater, and he had hundreds of them.
Wow.
And I was like, "What, you want me to get a bushel of figs and do this disgusting labor of?" I'm sorry that we started like this.
No, this is beautiful. I love this. I thought she was going to tell you can do it with your nipples. But that would
I
have been
wouldn't
too
want my
weird.
nipples to fall off.
No, you don't want your nipples to fall off. That reminds me of a story that my dad told me when I was young. He told me that he had a wart, and this woman told him that she would buy it off of him for 10 cents. And he said, okay, I'll sell it to you. And he did. And then it fell off like 2 days later. So he always told me, he's like, your mind can do anything you want it to do. And then I had a wart once on my foot. But I think it's still there, maybe.
That's great. I'm getting nervous that you're covering your drink like I'm going to roofie you. Like, why would you invite me to your podcast if you think I'm going to do that to you?
No, I was just enjoying the heat from the drink, but now that you brought it up, thank you. I'm going to move this far away from you because we all know what the comedy mafia is all about. Those Colombians. Pedro, you are from which city in Colombia?
By the way, did you bring this like Mexican poncho because I was coming?
First of all,
Which
that's
I mean,
racist
thank you.
towards Mexicans.
Thank you very
okay?
much.
But yes, of course, obviously, we always match the tablecloth to our guests.
Great.
So after you leave, it's gonna be an African tribal thing.
Nice.
No, I don't know. So where are you from? Medellin, right?
Bogota.
Ah, you're from Bogota?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I was born there. I lived there for 10 years. And then my dad had a milk farm. So he moved us from Bogota to a small town. So it's like, imagine telling your 5th grade friends, is like, hey, I'm going to go live in Bumblefuck, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I think I lied. And I said, I'm just going somewhere else.
Wait, is a milk farm a cow farm?
My dad actually had like a milk pasteurizing plant or something. He would buy milk from other people.
Wow. So you moved to the small town, which was called what?
Duidama.
Duitama?
Duitama.
Duitama?
Yes, there was nothing there.
Nothing?
The girls weren't attractive.
Ah, stop. I'm sure there was the queen of the beauty queen of Duitama. It was a rooster.
It was a rooster, the queen?
Yeah.
That's like a Modern Family joke.
Is it? Thank you.
Sofia Vergara
Hire
goes.
me.
Sofia Vergara goes. Oh, my babysitter was a goat, and then they just cut to a goat, and there's a part of me that goes, that is very offensive. But then also, I'm a comedian.
It's offensive.
For her to
Because
be
of
like,
the-
I was raised by a goat.
Okay, because
it's
she's
like
Latin.
because she's just making herself being like, I'm a fucking hillbilly, blah blah blah.
Right.
But I say worse things on stage.
This is
Every
true.
time I get on stage.
I've
every day,
heard
so-
this. I've heard this. So Duitama, you were like 12 when you moved there?
Yes.
Is it in the mountains? Is it by the sea? I'm guessing it's in the mountains if there's a milk plant.
Yeah, it's in the mountains.
I can't imagine a milk plant by the beach for some reason.
I don't think they have those. No.
Okay, so it wasn't beautiful? It wasn't like beautiful landscape there?
It's really beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, if you drive through Colombia, Colombia's just a really great. You haven't been to Colombia yet?
No, I've never been to Colombia.
When are you gonna go with you? Because
Well, hopefully I'll be invited to the Comedy Mafia tour as I don't know, Jewish token Jew.
there you go.
You should take a Jew with you. It's good
Yes.
luck.
Definitely go. Medellin, Bogota, Cartagena.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to it. I've never actively not gone.
I am gonna go with my wife in a couple weeks, and I almost don't want to go out to dinner here because I know that with whatever I can get one dinner here, I can get like 7 at the best restaurants in Colombia. Why do you think I have this shitty? I haven't got my haircut because in Colombia the haircut is like $4,
That's
and
hilarious.
here the tip is like 6.
The tip, you tip $6 on a haircut?
Well, my haircut is $20. So
Oh, okay.
how much
That's
is your
a good
haircut?
tip. My haircut, obviously $900. Look at this. So you grew up in this small little town after Bogota. You're like 12 years old. Are you
Yes.
dreaming of coming to the United States of America?
No.
Are you
not-
watching Charles Bronson and going, "That's my man"?
Well, my dad definitely watched a bunch of shows that I only know in Spanish.
Okay.
Like I watched The A-Team, I watched The Simpsons, but my dad was like heavily influenced by those like John Wayne movies and shit like that. But no, I didn't watch Charles Bronson and go, I want to go there. I perceived this country as like a big Disneyland. Like it just didn't have the appeal. Like sure, I wore the LA gear that I listened to Nirvana. This seemed like a great place. But at the same time, I didn't see the need to like get out of Colombia.
I love that the most depressing band ever made you think this is a great place. You're like, I listened to Nirvana, so of course I thought America was a great place.
But I think Nirvana is like just like very cool
Yeah,
and like
that's true.
culturally
Yeah,
it's like
of course, the coolest.
great.
Yeah. So you didn't feel like you had to get out of Colombia, and it wasn't like a dream of yours to come to America and make it big.
No, because I didn't even know that I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to be an engineer. So I went to
As a kid,
I went
you
to,
wanted to be an engineer?
when I was like 14, I was already in like an advanced math, advanced physics, and I went in the town where I used to live. If you are hoping to have a decent life, it's like, okay, if you want to get out of the like lower middle class, you gotta be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna be an engineer and I'm gonna move to Japan, maybe get a job at Sony.
Wow.
Which, I mean, I don't know that I would have been happy being an engineer working in like New Jersey. My brother works in New Jersey as an engineer.
Oh, really?
But if he was in Japan, it'd be great because I'd be different,
Right, that's true. Yeah.
right? I would be at least I would be bored at my job, but then I
But
would
you're
go
in
outside and be
Japan.
like, look at all these hot Japanese ladies.
That's truly the only reason why one would want to work in Japan.
or work. Just
Covering my drink again, people.
no,
Not that I'm Japanese. I'm not.
You know what? Like about that, and I'm sorry to like derail the conversation, but I was having a couple days of like not being excited about comedy or about many things, and I also like my libido, like everything across the board. I was not excited. So then I started just like walking around New York and seeing all these beautiful women, and just I didn't care. And in my head, I was like, "Oh my God! If you don't feel attraction for the others, for not for the other sex, but if you don't feel sexual attraction for anybody, why would you not kill yourself?"
And what was the answer? Why you wouldn't?
No, you should. If you're bored with your life.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's important for our
I mean, if
listeners
anyone
to
is
know.
listening now, if anyone, but you know what no. I mean, I guess the point of this is like, we all go through like lows. Never happened to me before because comedy is so exciting. But then again, when you do something every day,
Yeah, but
at some
don't you
point it just
feel
becomes
like,
like, ugh.
especially when you do something that's so exciting, everything else doesn't match the excitement, so you fall deeper because you have more highs. So somebody that maybe has like a kind of like mediocre level of excitement in their life maybe gets a little bit bored, but it's not, the like dip isn't as sharp as for us because we're like, what the fuck? All
Yes.
these
I
people,
mean,
and it was amazing.
It's very arrogant of ourselves to be like, we're amazing, people should listen to us and then applaud. But it's not like I get those highs because I always get off the stage and I go, oh, I could have improved so many things. Like, I don't even derive that much joy from that. But I do wish that I could be happier. But like I think I'm going to try to joke tonight about how, because today was pumpkin spice latte day.
Oh, great.
So my wife has been in a great mood all day.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow. I wish something like that could make me happy.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, that might have something to do with like being an immigrant. And I was talking to an immigrant friend who was telling me that when you're a Palestinian immigrant, you don't cry, you just move on, right? So life is a series of pains and you move on. So for example, growing up in Colombia and going through like a lot of economic instability and like, I don't know what's going to happen. My dad doesn't have money. We lost our house, all this shit. If you shut yourself down from wanting things and from feeling happy that you have, then you're not going to feel so sad when you don't have them anymore.
Of course, yeah.
You're Jewish. You should, what do you think about this?
No, of course, absolutely. I mean, I think that that's a big thing for especially like children of immigrants, this like guilt and the, you know, responsibility of working, and your problems are never as big as what your parents went through to get you to where you are, or to have you in the first place, or the wars they survived, you know, in my grandparents' case, and that kind of like awareness all the time that your whatever you're going through isn't as bad or as big or as important as what they went through, or what, you know, had to happen for you to even be here at all. So yeah, of course, totally.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned in therapy. I don't like my therapist. I'm gonna
I don't
leave
like
her.
my therapist.
Oh, you still going to that therapist?
Yeah.
She doesn't watch this?
I hope not. And if you do, then there you go.
Stop asking her for photos of her trips because she's paying money.
She does that.
That's insane.
Yeah, that was insane.
My therapist is the opposite. She's just like, I could be like, oh, somebody died. I can't make my session tomorrow. And she just replies, okay. Like, it's just, this woman is, she's from Latvia.
Oh.
So she also has an accent.
Yeah.
And, you know, I am English as a second language. So there is times when I can just get 75% to what I mean. And then I'm speaking that 75% to another immigrant who can only get 75% of what it's meant. So I end up having a immigrant quality fucking therapy session.
Right. Yeah.
So like my next goal is to have an immigrant that's not a therapist that understands English.
No, not someone who speaks Spanish?
That would be another idea.
That would be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but here's the thing that I learned from her. I did learn something good. Every time that I go there and I go, well, at least I'm not getting murder in Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. At least, blah, blah, blah. She goes, the fact that those problems in the world exist has nothing to do with the fact that you can feel pain and have feelings yourself.
Yeah, but what you were saying is very true, that once you open yourself up to that, it's hard, because then all of a sudden you're not this person anymore that's like, I'm fine. I don't have time for problems. Like, I don't have time for problems. I don't have the luxury of having problems. Once you open yourself up for that you become vulnerable, and then you really have to start like digging into your shit. So I think that's why also there's like a resistance for a long time to that, because you do, like, you have so many obstacles that you face every day. This is not your first language. This isn't, the country you were from. You're like trying to make it in your career. You're hustling on all ends. But for me, at least, it took a long time to be like, oh yeah, it's okay to do that, and I can still function. I think I was always scared, like, if I open myself up to that, I'm just gonna like crumble. You know what I mean?
Huh. So you're just lying to your therapist?
No, I don't lie to my therapist, but there's a difference between talking about your problems and then actually implementing that outside of therapy, and not just using therapy as the place where you do that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel my conclusion now is that I'm going to stop talking to old therapists.
Old as an age old?
Yes. I just want to talk to like a 20-something-year-old who will validate every single one of my feelings.
Stop.
No, but my wife has one of those, and they're great
and
because
the pumpkin spice latte is all she needs to be happy.
Yeah,
so
no. But
right.
all she gives is like, oh no, that person's being a piece of shit. So they actually give you advice instead of making you talk about your childhood.
Okay,
for
but that's
10
a
years in a row.
in therapy style. So like
Right.
one is analytical and the other one is more of like a life coach approach, right? Almost. Like they're not analyzing what it comes from, your behavior. They're giving you techniques.
So I'll give you an example. Quick example.
Okay.
I have a couples therapist.
Yeah.
And I was telling her that I have been like really snippy with my wife. The whole week I was just being like, snippy a word? Sometimes I speak and I don't know if it's the correct word.
Snippy's a word.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course.
I was just being...
Was that snippy?
Right. So I was just the whole week, and I was just like at the end of the session, when I started having a session on the weekend, I was like, maybe because I never saw my dad treat my mother right, maybe this is why I'm just replaying a role, blah blah blah. And she was like, wait, stop. How was this week for you? And I was like, oh, I had this interview, this shit fell through. I was so busy. And she goes, okay, so this is, you were being snippy because you were extremely busy, and we all do that. So don't tell yourself that you're a damaged human.
Right.
So that's why I appreciate that more, because it's more
it's
practical.
the snippy
than just
busy
like,
syndrome that we all know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Of course. I mean, a little bit of both is probably not bad. But would your parents ever go to therapy?
I think they would. I think they would.
Do people in Colombia go to therapy? I'm asking that not like as like, do people in Colombia have washing machines? But like
No.
Germany, even in Germany, it's like not as big of a thing as here.
I understand. My friends do. The reason my parents would go to therapy tomorrow if I got them a therapist. My parents have become very open-minded as they got old. Like my mom now, she plants her own weed and she just makes like weed brownies to give to her
Really?
friends that have like arthritis or whatever. The new Colombian president, I think, is trying to decriminalize all drugs, even cocaine or whatever, because like we've been fighting cocaine for 60 years. It's never going to be eradicated, and all it does is people are dead.
Right.
So maybe they're going to let the Americans...
And they could make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, they have to find a different way that's not putting people in jail.
Right, of course. Yeah. Do you think that you'll ever go back to live there? Do you think about
Um,
that?
I, I mean, but New York is so disgusting. Don't you, don't you find it? Like I was writing today. There's an image of that I saw the other day when I was coming home from a show, and I got off the 6th train, and I was like sweating. I'm sweating right now because I was walking on the way here, and it's just this. The subways are hot.
It's true.
So it was hot and humid. It was like 11, and I saw a couple who were having like their first kiss, and on 86th Street or something. But right next to them, there were just huge piles of 20 bags of garbage surrounding them, and the smell was wafting into them. So it was like, how is this romantic? I'm trying to like think of the analogy that I thought of today, because it's like,
Maybe they were from
There's-
Switzerland,
there-
where it's
there's-
so clean that's for them. That's like exciting.
so when I used to live in Philly, I had a roommate who had a crush on this woman who would always come to to see him blackout drunk, and she would piss on his bed. But instead of like not seeing the woman again, he just bought a plastic cover for the mattress. And that's kind of like
That's amazing. That's
how
love.
I kind of like feel about
I think he was in love.
about New York. New York. Oh, here's what I thought. You're kissing someone that you like at a party, and they're super drunk, and you're like, you love them, and then they pause, and then they puke, and then they kiss you again.
Yeah.
That's
New
New
York.
York to me.
So you
So-
love it, but it's disgusting.
But it's disgusting. I think I would, if I were like a novelist or a painter, and I didn't depend on like being able to find a stage or having human interactions to create jokes or whatever. Yes, I mean, I would go to Colombia. I think Medellin is just the perfect city
Why?
with an international airport it's like a little teacup. It's like the inside of a teacup, and the weather is like 72 degrees throughout the year, and the food is amazing. You can eat at like a Michelin star Peruvian restaurant for like $8, and the culture is very much about like, okay, we work every day, but on the weekends we go to our farm and our kids ride their horses, and we have family barbecues. And I think the thing that I find hard about living in this country is the fact that your brother gets a job in Michigan, he goes there. Your sister is in Jersey, she's there. Your parents are in California, and we get used to that.
Yeah, it's very
Right?
individualistic.
Yes, whereas people in Colombia, people in Italy, there's people who like, I have cousins who are like 40, and this is a little sick in the head, but one of them built an apartment complex with like 7 apartments for him and his siblings and his parents.
Oh yeah, that's
And
totally normal.
but it imploded
in many
very
places.
quickly.
Oh really?
Yes, because the architect who built the apartment complex was the wife of one of them, who promptly cheated on him
Oh no.
with another guy from this small town. Can you
She,
imagine?
like, built herself a little secret
that
room.
I would burn that fucking house to the ground.
What do you miss about Colombia the most, except your family, when you're here?
It's been so long.
How long has it been?
20 years.
You've been here for 20 years?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
So I've never been a person to like miss places.
So when you came here, did you start studying, or what was the first thing you did when you came to the States? And did you come straight to New York?
No, I came to Pennsylvania.
All right, you said Philly.
Yeah, so it was called King of Prussia, and my family was in the process of, my dad was gonna apply for political asylum, because my dad had been like not blackmailed, but extorted by like rebel forces back in Colombia. So he was like, not only was he losing his businesses, but on top of that, since he seemed to have money, they were coming for him. My mom supposedly because since I write TV now, sometimes I'll just ask them random questions about their life. And my dad said that the bravest moment that my mom ever had, that he ever witnessed, was one time when the rebels, guerrilla fighters, like FARC people, stopped them. And they were like, here's your bank statement. They had a computer system. But like, here's your bank statement. Like, when are you going to pay us? And my mom was like, you have some fucking nerve. Attacking hardworking people, stopping them with their kids in their car to fucking black. And my dad was like, but I have that memory of my mom was like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the sweet lady at my house could fucking face a motherfucker with a rifle and be like,
Wow.
don't fuck with my family.
Wow. For those people listening, can you give like a quick context of when that was and the people that don't know anything about Colombian history and what was going on?
Sure. So the president of Colombia today is a former rebel from a movement called M19, which is famous because like in 1989, they took over the Palace of Justice with like all the ministers and all the politicians, and they wanted to take power. They never took power. That idealist movement devolved into narco-terrorism. So basically the ideals faded, and then the guerrilla fighters became people that did not fight for the interests of the... So the guerrillas were born because rich landowners started expropriating, taking over the lands of the poor people. And the poor people raised in arms and started fighting, but there was a point where the ideals were pushed aside. And just like in Cuba, Fidel Castro became a dictator.
Right.
These people abused their power, and they started trafficking drugs and kidnapping and murdering. So that's what I mean by rebel fighters.
And that was in the 90s you're talking about.
That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Colombia, after that, went through like a peace process, I believe. Then some people took over. But the new president is all about like, I'm going to change the old ways. And I'm going to change the war on drugs. And I am going to go for full peace. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. So your dad was applying for political asylum 20 years ago.
Yes.
And so you came to, you landed in Philly or in Pennsylvania with your family.
In Pennsylvania, yes. And
okay.
I just remember resenting the jobs that my family had. Because I was
because you had to move?
No, because they were shitty jobs. They were just your typical, you don't speak English, here's a mop, go clean. And I was in Colombia. I had a scholarship for engineering. Like I saw myself like, whew, and like I want more. I was always an ambitious person. To see my dad, who was always been a businessman, just be like completely defeated, and just cleaning at a gym, and my brother being young and just being like, well, this kid should be like playing soccer. High school, but after his classes, he also has to go and work at a Dunkin' Donuts or something, and I was like, what if we don't get our documents? What if we don't get our papers and we just become like all the other people who are left behind and who are people with a lot of potential, but they spend the rest of their lives in a bodega working 14 hours a day because there's no other choice. The system doesn't see them as... They're invisible. You can't get financial aid when you're undocumented. You can't get health insurance when you're undocumented. It's like really... like
purgatory.
It's purgatory, and you're like... The odds are stacked against you so hard that life can just become awful.
So you did get your documents, though. Your family did get their documents.
Yes. My dad, we had a hearing with immigration, and my dad, supposedly, I wasn't allowed to watch because I was 18 already, so they were gonna question me separately. But my dad, he's a very like, he knows how to like persuade and speak, and supposedly he just made this moving argument. And my brother was like a really cute kid. So, and my mom is really beautiful. So probably just was like, I mean, these people are not going to do anything bad. They're going to... they're white also. They look very white, so probably that helped.
And how long were your parents here for? Because now they live back in Colombia, right?
Yes, they lived here for about 10 years.
Okay.
My mom used to work as a teacher's aide at like a kindergarten or like daycare, where she was like very passionate about the children that she used to. She had an enemy at this job, some Egyptian lady.
Wow.
Who used to like, the kids would just like walking in line and they would just be like, water? And the mom would be like, no water. My mom confronted her one day and she was like, water. And she gave them water.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was the worst that my mom had. But they went back because I just saw them just being, when you move here and you're 40, chances are you're not going to really master the language. And you're going to feel stupid going to a party and being like, oh, hello, I'm 40 years old. And I don't know how to talk. So they were very like recluse. And I was like, they're not going to be happy here. So I suggested they went back and they're back and they're doing great.
Wow. And you continued to study engineering at that point, or is that when you started doing comedy?
No, I moved to study literature and I studied Spanish because it was very easy. I think I wanted to get a PhD, and I was like, if I get a PhD by like 27, I'm gonna get a job at a teaching college that is not a research college where teachers teach from like 8 to noon, and I'm like, then I'm gonna have time to like be creative.
Because you always knew you wanted to do that.
I knew that I love like literature and books, but it's not like you read like Hemingway and you go, I can do this. Right? Just give me a piece of paper and a pen and I will do this. So well, ironically, now I have faith that I can be a writer. Because like now my next goal is to sell a show about those 2 years where my family wasn't documented. That's what I'm going to.
Why ironically? I don't think that's ironic. That makes total sense.
Because it's about the time that was the shittiest time in your life. So when you're in that time, you don't go, oh, this is going to be great one day.
No.
Like I was just thinking about Joe List's movie, right? It's about a sober person who is surrounded by people who don't respect the fact that they've chosen to not be a drinker or a drunk, like where they come from. And I was like, do you think that when Joe List was blackout drunk, he was like, one day this is going to be...
Yeah, but that's why they say tragedy plus time.
Yes.
You need the time. And now you are a writer and you write on a show that's coming out soon. When is it coming out?
Maybe 2023. The name of the show is Primo. And it's going to be in an app called Freebie, which is sort of like an Amazon app that they're trying to push hard. So it was very good. So the writing was great. I can't
You're
believe
done
that I'm
with the
gonna
writer's
see.
room?
We're done with that. We were filming in Albuquerque. I went the days that we were filming outside, so the temperature was like 110 degrees. And so that was a lot. That was hard.
You're like, I don't want to be a writer anymore.
It convinced me that I couldn't handle like working outside, like working like the real immigrants work.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. That's true. And the creator is Mike Schur, right?
Mike Schur and Shea Serrano.
But you got that gig because you wrote a bunch of spec scripts. And I don't know if this is one of the ones that you submitted, but I remember we would meet up sometimes.
Oh, yes.
And like show each other our writing. And one of them was took place partially in Colombia.
Yeah.
So you you do your podcast is in Spanish. You're going on tour in Colombia. You're part of the what is it called? Colombian heritage.
Hilarious Colombian Americans.
Hilarious Colombian Americans.
The
heritage.
hardest to remember name, but I've been trying to change forever. But
what do you want to change
nobody
it
listens. Cocaine, something something that makes people just remember quickly. Oh, Colombia, cocaine, great, brilliant brand.
Cocaine, LOL.
Pablo Escobar, Sons. Pablo Escobar and Sons.
Yes. That's good. So your like national identity is a big part of everything that you sort of like process and make art about, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I think like nowadays, um, and it's not because the market wants it, but we've evolved that there's so many products out there that people now, like I remember Rami Youssef talking about like, oh, but when I start pitching my shop, people would be like, what about if he's neighbors with a white family and there's gets quirky, right? Because it's like, but that's not what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
The show that I wrote for, it's in San Antonio, where like 86% of the population is Mexican and the other 14 is black. So he was like, this show is mostly going to be non-white people, and that's also okay. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The more specific the stories, the better. And I think that my podcast is in Spanish because I started interviewing Colombian comedians that are famous. Because when you tell them, hey, I live in New York, I want to talk to you, they go, you live in New York? Of course.
That's so funny, isn't it? I think as an immigrant, it's such a funny experience that New York still has so much pull everywhere outside of New York, even in this country, but internationally, it's like, as much as people hate America or think it sucks, if you say you're from New York, like all doors always open. Like you're always the coolest
New York
person.
is the center of the universe, I would say.
And of like coolness.
Of coolness.
Yeah. I remember I got into a strip club in Greece that like did not allow women in ever. And they were like, but she's from New York. And they were like, oh, please come in.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. I didn't
great.
want to go in, but I got in. Okay. Well. I asked you this beforehand. I love sayings. I love proverbs. I love expressions from different countries and cultures. And I asked you for your favorite one, and you were like, it's kind of dirty. And I was like, we love that here at Immigrant Jam headquarters. Can you tell us in Spanish your favorite saying and then tell us what it means?
Yes. So when you tell me about sayings, I started thinking, and I don't like to speak in cliches because cliches just lose their meaning very quickly.
True.
So I just thought of things that made me laugh that people told me that I'd never heard before. And my friend said, we were talking about somebody that I was starting to see. And he goes, pero usted la quiere o le da como rata en bolsa? So his question was, do you like her, or did you fuck her like she was a rat in a bag?
Even Mike's eyes popped out of his head on that one.
But so there's one thing that I want to like extract from this expression, which is the thing that I feel like my friend was asking. Like, this would be asked of a gay guy about another gay guy. Or maybe, like, a lesbian with another lesbian. Like, it's not about, like, oh, because it's a woman.
Oh, okay, I understand.
It's
not a gender thing.
Do you love them? Do you make love?
Right.
Or do you fuck them with the disdain that you attack a rat?
Is there no middle ground? Can you fuck them like a cotton candy in a bag?
Well, but then it's not funny, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Because if it's middle ground, it's like.
Yeah, I know a rat in a bag is amazing.
And it's also the sound.
And
like
I'm also surprised that we don't say that here in New York when it's such a rat-centric place.
Yes, maybe we get it trending.
Everybody starts saying
like
this.
A rat in a bag.
Yes. Okay, real quick, the poll questionnaire, a few questions to determine how much of an immigrant you really are. No, it's just a quick questionnaire, some silly questions. First thing that comes to mind, Pedro Gonzalez, are you ready?
Yes.
Great. If you had to eat one American person, who would you eat?
Eat?
Eat.
Natalie Portman.
Wow. Okay. Going for a small, bite-sized.
Yes. Tender as well.
Okay. Interesting. Such interesting
I love
answer.
that question.
I love that answer. That's very funny. Okay. If you could add one amendment to the U.S. Constitution, what would you add?
If I could add one amendment, that if you lived here for 15 years, you're an American now.
I love that. That's great. If you were mayor of New York City, what would be the first thing you would do?
This is a
Don't
failed
say go
joke
to
that I'm
Zero
not gonna
Bond.
say. No, I would replace all those outdoor spaces that have been designated for restaurants with garbage dumpsters.
What the fuck?
Because that would clean up the streets of New York.
But the garbage is already on the street. So you
No,
would
no, because
create
it-
more
no, no,
space
no,
for
because
garbage?
if there's a dumpster,
Oh, closed dumpsters.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay,
yes,
okay.
closed dumpsters.
Closed
And
dumpsters.
you want to hear the rest of my failed bit?
Yes.
Because I realized this was never gonna work. You could put loft beds for homeless people on top of the lid of the thing, but then I realized homeless people would jerk off on you from out there, so it's not gonna work. It's
Okay.
a thought.
Vote for Pedro in the next election if you want to get jerked off on from loft beds above
you- but-
garbage dumpsters.
Do you not mind the garbage in New York City?
I grew up here, and so in a way, I kind of miss it when I'm in other places. It is gross, but at the same time, it's all out in the open at least. You know what I mean?
No.
It is what it is. What you see is what you get.
Okay.
If you were president of the United States of America, what American food would you ban?
Oof. Which one did you say?
What did I say? I don't know. We've had so many good ones like meatloaf or oh yeah, those
I mean I would ban the turkey.
ban the turkey.
Yeah, because I
The
don't
animal
like it.
or the cooked turkey?
The cooked turkey.
Okay.
I would ban it so that people had to come up with better recipes.
Wow, it's a very sophisticated answer. Very, very sophisticated answer. I'm very impressed. What's the most Colombian thing you've ever done?
Oh my god. Become a salsa dancer so that I could meet women here.
Okay. Did it work?
I became a semi-professional dancer.
What? You became a semi-professional dancer? Like, really?
Because okay, so I was terrified of going to a bar
Okay.
and talking to a woman.
Okay.
Somehow asking her to dance with me was less terrifying because she was already at a salsa club wanting to dance.
Wow, you have a strange, beautiful brain.
Yes.
That's less terrifying.
But then I would ask them to dance and I would dance with them. And at the end, I would just still not know how to say to them. They would just go and dance. So I would just dance a lot and still never get laid.
That's cute. That's a short film.
So it's not like a Colombian. That's not a Colombian thing to do. That's like wanna brand yourself as a Colombian thing that I did.
Okay, I understand. What's the most American thing you've ever done?
I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is I am a stand-up comedian, which is as American as it gets.
Okay.
Just go abroad and just buy shit like I own people. You know what I mean? Just more. How much are you for the day? $5? Here's $10. Accompany me. Give me a massage. I feel like that's very American.
That is very American. If you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
To space. To I mean, doesn't everyone say the same person? Doesn't
No.
everyone say Donald Trump?
No, you'd be surprised. We've had Nancy Pelosi. We've
Who
had
did you invite?
2 people say Michael Rappaport. 2 people said Michael Rappaport.
Okay, it's just to be
Who do you invite?
Clarence,
Yes,
Clarence,
Alex
Clarence Thomas? Is that Thomas? Yeah, that fucking guy.
That fucking guy.
He made my wife cry.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
If I see that fucking guy, hey, you made my wife cry. All right, last question, most important question ever that I've ever asked anybody. Pedro, do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
Oh, just walk around Beverly Hills with a bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
He'll sniff it at some point. Come on.
I love it. That's great. Pedro, where can people find you on social media?
So on YouTube, they can, if they speak Spanish, they can find just youtube.com/La Comedy Mafia, and my Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff. It's Pedro's Jokes.
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
No, I don't go on Twitter.
You don't do Twitter.
No.
Okay. That's where he draws the line, people. Okay. Not on Twitter. Follow Pedro. Message Pedro. Watch all of Pedro's stuff. Look out for the show coming out in 2023. It's called Primo, right? Which means cousin,
Yes.
doesn't it? Yes. Look out for that. And then, yeah, stand-up live shows all over New York and all over the country. You guys are on tour as well with the hilarious Colombian people, comedians,
Yes.
Pablo Escobar's sons. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to my company.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Lucy, for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Douchebag Steve. Check out the Patreon. Leave a review. Leave a 5-star rating. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell your janitor.
In iTunes, right, too?
iTunes.
Yeah.
Yes, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. Thank you. Goodbye.
If you liked what you just heard, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, recommend to all your friends, and if you hated it, recommend it to your enemies. Thank you for listening to Immigrant Jam, the podcast with me, Lucy Pohl. Have a delicious and nutritious day.